I'd like to kick off this analysis of the official trailer to Lee Cronin's The Mummy with an innocuous scene that establishes the loving family dynamic. This scene of a household playfully arguing over routine conversation like pizza is terrifying to me because of what it implies. Now, while this portrayal of the bonding relatives is clearly meant as a calm before the storm moment, consider that dark cloud beyond its silver lining.
Hello?
Mr. and Mrs. Cannon, I'm Deputy Chief at the U.S. Embassy. Your daughter Katie has been found.
We've known since the teaser that this movie centers on a married couple who had lost their daughter nearly a decade ago. However, what this official trailer opens with are two other children within this happy home. Why this disturbs me so is that typically, when your movie monster goes the creepy kid route, the terror is enacted by the children. See The Village of the Damned. Or upon the children. See The Witches. So, since our mummy is played by a young girl who is reunited with her family after missing for 8 years, and there are one or both siblings now in the picture that she's never met, that could lead her to believe that her brother and or sister were only born to replace her. Whatever evil the daughter has brought back with her might just use this as further incentive to exact some unprovoked retaliation. Even if she wouldn't regard them as objects deserving of payback, she will unquestionably treat them as playthings once the horror ensues. And after all, we know that things don't exactly turn out well for either brother or sister. What should be an immediate embrace once parent and child are reunited is instead treated like a pep talk in the proper handling of an active landmine.
It's very important you fully prepare yourself for what you're about to see. No sudden moves. No loud noises.
The desiccated skin and elongated nails tell a story all their own of neglect and mistreatment. The unkempt appearance of this poor child gives off the impression that they're being introduced to a witch rather than reunited with their adolescent daughter. Revelations only arouse further mystery.
What was our daughter doing in a 3,000-year-old sarcophagus?
Katie had vanished for 8 years only to reappear within a 3 millennium-old Egyptian stone coffin, which, according to forensic evidence, has something to do with a plane crash. To say that the plot thickens doesn't quite do all of these developments justice. The blessed event around a family get-together isn't quite what's in the cards as evidenced by the sights and sounds of the new arrival.
What was our daughter doing in a 3,000-year-old sarcophagus?
As if this wasn't enough of a red flag that something ain't quite right. The pharaoh-like tendencies of Katie are a dead giveaway.
She just needs our care and lots of love.
Pardon the pun. Right when we get a look at the evidence board of Katie's missing child posters alongside a map of the Egyptian landscape where she was lost, as well as the aforementioned crash site, I'm left thinking to myself, whose is this evidence board belonging to? My guess is the detective that stumbles onto the trailer's next discovery. How appropriate that the evidence board had an air blower in front of it, because that's exactly when the Sphinx hits the fan.
How many others were found?
57.
There is talk of 57 other bodies discovered right when an investigator finds the top of a pyramid with a winged monster carved into a capstone that leads to an underground cave system. Dear Lord, it's fitting that this sequence takes place at the midpoint of this trailer because it's the opportune time to pull over and park this gut reaction right here for a beat. Far too many times is it the case that movie trailers expose too much of the story and the best moments of the movie. This preview, however, has not only masterfully given us several breadcrumbs in rapid succession while not spoiling the main course of the overall plot, but further baiting our appetite. The plane crash, the body stash, the photo flash, the capstone, the carving, the cave system. The puzzle pieces that they're drip feeding us piques our interest while keeping the big picture elusively out of reach. Marvelous work. We now return to our regularly scheduled crime scene. My god, are chains in horror movies ever not terrifying?
Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell.
Something tells me that the lab rats didn't survive the experiments. It's either that the cultists experimented on each of the 57 victims as test subjects to perfect the ritual on unlucky number 58, or it took 57 sacrifices to eventually contain whatever malevolent force into poor little Katie. I'll tell you this much. I hope it didn't take 57 skinnings to wrap Katie in her bedtime bandages, if you catch my drift. As if the fear of the anticipation for what's in store for the family isn't daunting enough, Lord of mercy. These previews just keep referring back to the tape within a child's lunchbox marked Katie. Bruh, I'm trying to tell you, the thought of using an abducted child in a ritual is unholy enough, but to have recorded this ceremony is inhuman. I'm worried we're in for some Silent Hill type sacrament. We get again the imagery of the mummy wrappings that are anything but ordinary. Not only do they not have hieroglyphs, but they appear to be made of skin. I'm guessing that the bandages, as well as the writing on the wrappings, were meant to work with the ritual as some kind of binding spell. Whereas the initial teaser frightened us with the audible chanting in the background, the unsettling melody does the trick in this trailer to keep things on a discomforting keel.
What happened to Katie? What really happened to her?
Given the little girl's hooded presence upon her homecoming, I'm guessing that her seclusion from sunlight for 8 years has resulted in a photosensitive aversion to illumination. This makes her scurrying in the basement shadows all the more frenzied and untamed. I'm curious what this plane crash is about. Between the bodies and the hanging corpses, it looks like they had a run-in with a predator. As the intensity with the music ratchets up, so does the frustration with Katie for her to speak her first words.
Say something. Say something. Say something. Say something!
Believe me, she certainly gets a mouthful. That crunch as the girl bites down on her grandmother's hand is as abrupt as it is brutal. And now, a beast shall prey.
Don't worry, Grandma. It's fun to be dead.
Meh, admittedly this scene doesn't hit quite as hard as the memorable line from the director's last film.
Mummy's with the maggots now.
What I will say is that, given the mummy's obvious Egyptian origin, I take the violent response to the grandmother, especially given her Lord's Prayer and strangulation by rosary, as a preemptive strike against what the monster treats as a rival religion. The flesh peeling really does give the impression that there is an evil literally under the skin. Imagine if the wrappings bound the wicked spirit, meanwhile the human skin incubated whatever evil is lying within the host's body. The sandstorm here is well handled because it gives off that malignant force controlling the elements. We get more removal of skin as if it were articles of clothing, followed by a scarab bursting through an apple and beelining it towards someone's jaw. These trailers sure do have a lot of bugs in people's mouths. The scene of the sister laughing as she smiles with a bloody smirk is a haunting sight. It looks like something that Pennywise would pose as. Creepy stuff. The cult activity recording is briefly visible, followed by what can only be described as projectile vomit transferal. There's a sentence. One visual of skin tearing at the monster's leg because with all the shedding Katie's done, I guess she missed a spot. One hopeless longing for a loved one's return.
I just want my daughter back.
And we close out the trailer with our recluse on her rampage. That's a wrap. I really must commend writer-director Lee Cronin for what he's been able to pull off here. Instead of merely subtracting familiar tropes of a traditional mummy movie, he has wisely taken a give-and-take approach. Withdraw ancient Egyptian royalty, make your monster a modern child. Remove adventure grandeur, narrow the scope to family drama. Dispense with heroism, embellish the horror. How often are we marketed stories with extravagant pitches such as unlike anything we've seen before, just to be ultimately disappointed? How rarer still is it that someone delivers on that promise? It has taken 94 years for this subgenre to provide us a pure horror experience. My enduring hope is that the end result is worth the wait, is worth its weight in gold. I've been Inkarnate, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal.
If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.